Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am the Omni viewer, and if you haven't seen all of Creature Commandos yet, you should probably click off of this video right now because I'm going to be going into massive spoilers. And this is your final warning, so I mean it. If you want to avoid spoilers, click off now. Okay, assuming you're still sticking around, if you saw all of Creature Commandos at this point, you know that, sadly, the character of Nina Mazursky was killed in the final episode. She's the one character none of us wanted to see go. Of course, James Gunn has a penchant for killing characters that the audience loves, doesn't he? So naturally, that's got me wondering, who's gonna die in Creature Commandos Season 2? We already know Season 2 is happening, so who is Gunn going to put on the chopping block this time around? I just thought it might be fun to do a little speculating. I don't know if any of this is actually going to play out. I'm not going to be upset if my fan theory isn't confirmed or anything. I'm just doing this for fun. I'd like to just look at what we know, look at the evidence, look at the patterns and everything, and see if we can guess which of the Creature Commandos who will be going into Season 2 are safe and which one is going to be this season's sacrificial lamb. Now, before we do that, just a brief reminder of why Nina was specifically killed in Season 1. I explain it in the second half review video, but just as a refresher, Nina died for two reasons. First of all, her death was going to have an impact on the audience. She's the cute, adorable, innocent one. Innocent in both her way of thinking and innocent in terms of not having done anything wrong, especially when compared to the other characters. And yes, I know Weasel didn't do anything wrong either. I'll be bringing that up a little bit later. Nina is the closest thing we have to a truly good member of the team. So her death is going to matter to the audience because she's the one character, like I said, we don't want to see go. Of course, she's also the Gillman homage. The creature from the Black Lagoon has a very devoted fan base, and thus a devoted fan base to any characters based on him. So killing her is going to affect you on that level as well if you're a creature fan. Now, affecting the audience is all well and good, but the second reason Nina had to die is because she would have a great impact in universe as well, as we saw she did. Each of the Creature Commandos, at this point, they're a team only because they're told to be a team. They do not get along very well, and they don't really care about each other. But you get the sense that they all kind of agree Nina doesn't deserve to have anything bad happen to her because she's the only one of them that they know for certain truly is good. So when she dies, everyone is going to be shocked. And the bride is going to be doubly shocked because she was actually becoming Nina's friend. They were actually forming a bond, and now that bond has been cut short. It's the closest thing that the bride has had to a meaningful relationship in centuries, a meaningful relationship that she actually wanted, of course, and it's robbed from her. So that's going to have a huge impact. And of course, it's only made even more impactful by acknowledging that Nina didn't actually do anything to deserve being locked up with all these other monsters. And like I said, Weasel is innocent as well. The audience sees his backstory. We know that this story about him killing and devouring children is a misunderstanding of what actually happened. He didn't harm anyone. As far as we know, he is as blameless as Nina is. Thing is, we know that, the other commandos don't. As far as they're concerned, that story is true. And Weasel can't exactly explain otherwise because he can't talk. He's unintelligible. His mind is just this far away from being 100% pure animal instinct. So if Weasel were to have died, the audience might care, but the other commandos aren't going to be too broken up about it. Oh good, the gross, smelly animal guy got killed. At least we don't have to deal with him anymore. It might still be surprising that one of them didn't make it out, but it wouldn't have the same gut punch effect as Nina's death. So there you have it. That's the secret to figuring out who's going to die in season 2, at least as far as I can tell. It has to be a character whose death will have the greatest impact both in universe and out of universe. It affects the other characters around them, and it affects the audience. And Gunn has done that before as well. Why did Yondu's death in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 matter so much to us? It was partly because he was a very endearing depiction of the character, not necessarily a comic accurate one, but we grew to like him. We'd gotten to know him very well over the course of that movie, but also because he was the father that Peter Quill always had but didn't fully appreciate until, sadly, it was too late. So again, maximum impact for taking that character away. Now that we have established all of that, who's on the chopping block? Okay, so I think the best way to go about this is the process of elimination. It'll be easier to figure out who is at risk if we first determine who is not at risk. So who's on the team now? Returning members are the Bride, Dr. Phosphorus, Weasel, G.I. Robot, who has been rebuilt, and technically Eric Frankenstein is coming back as well, though he's not actually part of the team at this point. Still, he's going to be a returning character. New members of the team are King Shark, as depicted in the Suicide Squad, Nosferatu, and Callus. So, of these characters, who is safe? Well, let's start with the newbies. I think most likely Nosferatu is safe. First of all, Nosferatu is going to be the second woman on the team, and I highly doubt Gunn is going to kill the other woman on the team twice in a row. She's probably safe in that regard. Plus, based on her brief appearance in episode 4 of season 1, Nosferatu isn't necessarily that likable. Certainly not as likable as Nina. She was bullying Nina. So she's probably going to have to work at earning people's sympathy, which I'm sure will happen. But is it going to be on the same level as what Nina had just right off the bat? Difficult to say. But I think that means she's probably safe. King Shark is also probably safe because he's already appeared before in the movies, and I'm sure audiences are wondering if he's going to come back for the movies, which is possible. So if Gunn wants to put him in the movies again, he's obviously not going to kill him in the cartoon, but also probably because whatever we learn about King Shark is something he won't be able to convey to the others. They're going to see him as the big dumb fish, just like they see Weasel as the scrawny dumb rodent. So King Shark, again, probably safe. The fact that he's also a much more prominent character, like, you know, he's been in the movies, people got to know him through the Harley Quinn series, though nobody really cares about that anymore. And he's one of the more prominent villains in the comics itself. Maybe not A grade, but certainly there most of the time. So King Shark is probably safe. Callus, I could potentially see him as a mid-season death, similar to what happened with G.I. Robot in season 1. They could kill him as a way to show how high the stakes are, but I don't necessarily think they're gonna do that. Again, we have to really establish a lot about him. And, you know, saying he has a chance of being a mid-season death is assuming there's going to be a mid-season death. There might not be. And if he makes it all the way to the end, he's probably going to be safe as well. We're probably not going to have gotten him to a place where we're going to be really sad to see him go. It could happen, but I'm thinking he's probably safe at the moment. As for the returning characters, we have established that G.I. Robot cannot die permanently. If he blows up again, he'll be rebuilt again. So he could very well get blown up every season, and we know he's going to come back unless they just run out of parts, or if he just gets completely disintegrated or something. Weasel is also probably safe because, again, he was in the Suicide Squad, and he survived that despite looking like he was killed at the beginning. But we also know that he's not, again, he's an innocent character. he's probably going to be kept around for a little bit. It also probably helps that both of those characters are voiced by Sean Gunn, who is James Gunn's brother, and I highly doubt James Gunn is going to take a role away from his brother. Yeah, you could say there maybe is a little nepotism there, but overall the point is those two are probably safe. That leaves us with the Bride, Frankenstein, and Dr. Phosphorus. Now, the Bride, probably safe. She's been maneuvered to the position of team leader by the end of season 1. And considering she also gets top billing most of the time, the plan is to probably keep her around for a while. There are only 2 scenarios I can think of in which I would definitely say she would not be safe. First scenario would be if it is the actual final season of the series, and therefore nobody's going to be safe because it's not going to continue. So the Bride might very well be taken down by the villains, or perhaps make the final sacrifice to save the world. By the final season, all the Commandos might be in a place where they're willing to make that sacrifice, and maybe all of them will, I don't know. But that's just one scenario. This early on, probably not going to be the case. The other scenario would be if she and Eric Frankenstein finally get to be on good terms with each other, and right as they're ready to admit that maybe they do belong together, she gets killed, which motivates Eric to take up the mantle of leader like he does in the comics anyway. However, that same scenario could play in the opposite direction, where as these two realize they're really meant for each other, Eric is the one who gets killed. Maybe he dies with a smile on his face, but he dies right as his life goal has become realized. Although that's assuming that they're ever going to be on good terms. It's been 200 years they've been having this feud, and it doesn't seem like they're going to resolve it anytime soon. Now, since we pivoted over to Frankenstein, there's another possible way that he could potentially die, which is if they commit to making him a full-blown villain. Not just antagonistic, not a side character whose loyalties you don't know where they fall, but the actual bad guy, or at least one of the actual bad guys. Have him finally be pushed to that point. We know that he is already skewing more in that direction than the other Commandos thanks to his focus episode, although he could still skew back to being a good guy. At this point, we don't know. I'm sure that Gunn has at least some idea of how this story is going to play out long term, and I don't know what it is. But in all likelihood, I don't think they're going to kill either of the Frankenstein monsters just yet. And so, by process of elimination, that leaves us with only one option, Dr. Phosphorus. Would he actually be able to fill that quota of being a meaningful death in universe and out of universe? Quite possibly. The audience is already privy to his backstory. We know that he became what he is today because he went through just a horrifying process, and we know that he gave into the darkness a long time ago, and he still to this day acts like he's just evil and doesn't care. But we do see that little glimpse of humanity at the end of his focus episode. That little bit that lets us know he's not completely lost to the dark side. And if that is allowed to really grow, he could actually become the new heart of the series, and thus he would be the heart to get ripped out of our chests. You know, we already saw signs of that. He clearly cares that Nina got killed. He's not going to admit it that way, but it clearly affected him. So all of that apathy he pretends to have clearly is an act. He also has that one line to the bride when they're back at the prison during the scene where we actually first meet Nosferatu. He says that since they went on a mission together, he thinks that everyone may as well be friends because, well, he doesn't really give a reason just yet because the scene pivots away. But it seems like he actually does want to have that connection. And of course, there's also that line he has towards the end about how he misses physical contact. You know, nobody can touch him without burning their hands off. And that's kind of driving him a little stir crazy. There are all these different things that could be expanded on and make Phosphorus really more sympathetic and quite possibly have him start to bond with other characters. We actually already see that even though he wasn't on good terms with Nosferatu during her introductory scene, final scene of season 1, he's playing ping pong with her like there was nothing between them at all. So he's clearly not opposed to making connections. He could very well be the guy who starts being buddies with everyone on the team. Maybe not Weasel, because there's still a bit of a grudge there. But, you know, I don't think Weasel holds animosity towards him. So, by process of elimination and by looking at all the different evidence, I feel that if a character's going to die in season 2, the most likely candidate would be Dr. Phosphorus. Now, does that mean that's actually what's going to happen? I really don't know. Genuinely, I don't. The thing is, if a character is going to die, as long as it's properly built up to, and as long as it really lands when it happens, then it doesn't matter who it is. If it's my prediction or somebody else entirely. I'm just doing this for fun, like I said. I wanted to do some speculating about who could possibly be the next one to go in season 2. And having theorized about it, I think Phosphorus is the most likely candidate, but we will see. When we will see, I don't know. I don't think they've actually announced a release date for season 2 yet, which means they probably will have by the time this video goes up, and I will look like a fool for not having known it. But all the same, I just wanted to put this out there. And it'll be interesting to look back at this video and see how well it ages based on that. Until such time as we meet again, this is the Omni Viewer signing off.